Hello everybody, my name is Taylor and I started this YouTube channel to share my own personal recovery journey. I share my experience, strength, and hope. I wanted to make this video because this is a different experience that I've had tonight in my recovery since I've been in recovery for the past 4 years, actively involved in recovery. I've been associated and active in 12-step programs for almost 4 years now, and I've came to the conclusion, and what works for me is that, the 12 steps are the 12 steps. It's all the same. It doesn't matter what program an individual is working. And I'm going to speak about my experience with step 11. When I first came to recovery, I had no idea what meditation was. I didn't know how to pray. Step 11 says we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with whatever. And so I didn't realize what my prayer looked like. So in the beginning of my recovery, I was trying to figure out what prayer looked like for me, how to pray. How do I define prayer? Because the prayer that was taught to me growing up wasn't the prayer that I was interested in. So I started learning that there are all different types of prayers. Being able to pray, positive self-talk, self-supporting talk. Then there's the religious prayer, reciting things. And there's journaling. There's all different types. Intentions, affirmations, and I gravitated towards intentions. And these things did not come naturally. I had to reread intentions repetitively, so my brain could grasp them and start to believe them. And so I had got the prayer part, my version of prayer part down, but I wasn't really into the meditation part. For the first 2 years of my active recovery, I was so go with identifying all the things I could within myself, like childhood dysfunction and just these traits, these unhealthy characteristics that I had carried, the anger, the resentment, and the 12 steps were a roadmap that helped me understand myself. It helped me understand who I was and who I didn't want to be anymore. And so outside of 12-step programs, I've always done counseling, but I've also been my own counselor. I've bought so many books and inner work, interpersonal, building skills, improving my communication skills. I took recovery serious. It was an all or nothing thing for me, and I had to be all in. And so I got to a point in my recovery where a painful event had happened in my life, which caused me to step back and examine and self-reflect on life and where I was in my recovery. And my intuition speaks to me. Some people call it God or consciousness or whatever, but that silent voice that leads me the right way was like, you've done all this inner work. It's time to face the silence. It's time to start learning how to meditate. And I didn't grow up knowing people who meditated. I knew one individual in my home group AA meeting who would always share about mindfulness and meditation. And it opened up the doors for me to start dabbling into it and meeting other people and going to other recovery programs such as Dharma Recovery that focused on meditation. Because for me, Alcoholics Anonymous can only do so much for me. It didn't teach me how to meditate, so I had to utilize other resources to help me learn how to meditate. But see, the thing is that the whole time I'm like, I need to learn how to meditate and this and that, and it was simply as simple as coming outside every night, setting alarm, because I have to set alarms for everything, and saying, you know what, at this time every night I'm going to come outside with my notebook no matter what, and I'm just going to journal what I'm feeling. And that's how my meditation started. And I was terrified of my own backyard. My phone keeps sliding and it's very annoying, and I'm not going to restart this video. But so that's how it began. Like, I was afraid of my own backyard. I never spent time out here at night. And with repetition of doing that, I started learning all the sounds and the creatures and the animals and feeding the raccoons, and I was no longer afraid. I was afraid of the dark my entire life. I was terrified to be left alone in the dark. And as a child, and I was living with my grandparents, and I would remember crying, begging my grandmother, please don't send me to my room. I'm scared of the dark. And like, I would be crying and terrified, and she would make me go in the room, and she would make me sit in the dark. And I was so terrified. I'm sure there's things that happened to me when I was younger that caused me to be afraid of the dark. But I don't sit here to try to remember them, because the past is in the past. But my point in saying this is I was always so terrified of the darkness, of being in the dark. And, I noticed through time that I was moving my lawn chair at night. I first started on my patio, like laying down, just looking up at the sky, talking out loud to myself, being grateful, focus on mindfulness. I'll break it down: mindfulness, noticing nature, the sounds, and just being in the present, being there for myself, being present. And then I bought a lawn chair off Amazon, and I gravitated towards the yard, which was a little bit uncomfortable. And I noticed throughout time I started gravitating to other places in the yard. And there's a part of my yard where it's like completely dark. And when I am outside at night, all the lights are off. And I put my lawn chair where I was most afraid of the dark to sit there, because it's just very dark. And one day I moved my lawn chair there, and I laid there, and I was no longer afraid of the dark. I used to have to sleep with the closet light on. I don't have to anymore. I'm not afraid of the dark as I once was. Why? Maybe it's because of all the healing I've done. I don't know. I don't know why. I just know it is. But today I did something out of my comfort zone, and this is associated with step 11. So I had gotten the prayer part down. And I never ask for anything. I never say, please do this for me. I need this. If you do this, I'll do that. Like, I don't believe in an entity. I believe in the power of life. I believe that I am responsible for taking action and making choices. And today I choose to make the right choices. And I believe that I have to put the action in to make my program work. And when I go into solitude and silence, the answers come to me of what action I need to take in my life. Things get resolved. And I don't have to be loaded anymore. I remember back in the day, I used to get, intoxicated, and I would just sit outside and I'd just stare up at the sky, and I would just cry and cry because my life was just shit, and I just wanted to change. And but today I feel peace outside. And so for a couple years now, I've had many different individuals, that don't even know each other, mention this Buddhist temple that holds an AA meeting every Monday night at 7 p.m. And I'm like, man, that sounds cool. I would love to go. But like, my social anxiety at the times these people were telling me was like not letting me go. Or I was allowing my social anxiety to not let me go. And I started my recovery journey through Zoom. Um, and then the first in-person stuff I started doing was bringing meetings to rehabs every week. No matter how I felt physically, mentally, or emotionally, I showed up. And it was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And I still do that today from time to time. I don't go every week like I used to, because I don't have to. I have to find balance today within my own recovery schedule, but I do show up from time to time. And then I started going to an ACA in-person meeting, and I showed up to all of these things alone. And that's the thing, I needed to, because I can't have someone by my side holding my hand 24/7. I have to do hard, uncomfortable things alone in order for growth to take place. And so I then started going to this in-person women's meeting every Wednesday night. According to them, I've been going for over 6 months. My brain has no concept of time, but I'm grateful I have women who actually keep up with the time for me. That's pretty cool, because I've never had in-person healthy relationships. And it can be scary, and it was scary, and it still can be scary. Like, how do I navigate this? But as long as I work my recovery and I learn from my mentors and my sponsors and my role models and people who have what I want, and chat GPT, and to educate myself on, how to be social in a sociable situation. Like, I didn't learn these skills and how to communicate and things like that. As long as I keep working on myself, things keep working. So, I've done in-person things. I went to these 2 rehab events. I was internally dysregulated, but the first time I showed up to see a dear friend of mine, she was the speaker, and I was like, you know what? She told me, she said, Taylor, I'm speaking at so-and-so. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, how many people are going to be there? That was my first reaction. She was like, I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be a lot. And I was like, like breathing heavy, already feeling the anxiety, and I wasn't even there yet. And I was like, you know what? Fuck my anxiety. I'm going to show up for you anyways. She was like, all right, okay. And so I showed up. And she taught me something. I used to be the type of person who wants to sit in the back row when, like, at things like that. She said that she sits in the front row so she don't have to look at the back of everybody's head and the distractions that go on. So I learned something that day. And I learned more about her on a personal level, which was, I was crying like all throughout it. Anyways, off topic. So my point is, like, from being isolated so much and spending my whole life in active addiction and being like in the country and like in like small settings with people, I never experienced like being around large groups of people and things like that, especially with unhealthy men. I get really uncomfortable, and that's something that I work on and that I dissociate from when I have to go to events where there are going to be individuals that way. I have learned not to make eye contact at all. And when I don't make eye contact, then they just stop. So, that's something I'm still working through in my recovery. But I had many people tell me about this AA meeting at the Buddhist temple. I don't label myself as a Buddhism or Buddhist, however you shall say it. I meditate. And, I was always told myself I would never be able to sit down and meditate in front of people and keep my eyes closed. I would be the type of person that would be like having my eyes open, squinting them back, looking at this person, looking at that, being on guard, like, because that's how I am. And I'm always very observant of my surroundings because I've had to be growing up and my whole life. And, a friend said that she would go with me, and I was like, I want to go alone because I have to do this alone in order for growth to happen. So I spent some time in the car in silence, and then I was getting a little anxious, so I put on one of my favorite songs. It's the person who sings it is Dax. It's called I Survived, and that song it hits me deep. It balances me out. It hits me in my cells and my blood. And I pull up at the address, and there's like these gates that were locked, and my brain was like, oh, well, we don't know how to get in, we don't know who to call, just go home. And I was like, no, brain, we're not gonna run, we're gonna wait, we're gonna, stay where we are, we're gonna observe the parking lot to see, like if any cars come in or out. So I saw a car coming out, so that's the way I went in. And as I was walking up to the doors, I noticed everybody had their shoes off. So I was like, okay, there's 3 doors. Which door am I going to walk through? And I'm like, Taylor, just walk through a door. So I walked through the door, and I walked in there, and I immediately felt peace. Peace. It's something that I have never experienced in person, through Zoom, or my entire life. And I was able, people were so nice, and I met the most aligned 2 women who were just like so happy that I was there. We like really connected. They even started a group chat. And I'm even going there for like this thing that they're doing there Friday, because I'm very interested. I'm a very open-minded person when it comes to learning about things. And I was shockingly surprised at myself. See, when I meditate, I always put my hand over my heart. At night, I usually have my favorite rock, and I put it on my skin, and then I put my hand on my rock. And I can feel my heart beat, like loud, like a beat, like the way a doctor uses the things to listen to the heart, but like more intense than that. And I like to connect to my heart because my heart is why I'm alive. Of course, all the other organs work together, blah, 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 but my heart is the reason I'm alive. I listen to my heart. My heart guides me. And I was able to not open my eyes the whole 20 minutes or 25 minutes. And I was able to actually meditate inside a building and connect to myself and talk to myself and just be in the present moment, which was different for me. And it opened up a new perspective about how closed my mindset was. Because, like, I don't want to meditate inside my house. Why would I do that when I can come outside and meditate, I love to be outside, but being with people, the energy in that room and the shares of is something that I never experienced. And I had told myself on the way there, I said, this time I'm just going to come, I'm going to observe, and I'm not going to share. And my heart told me to share when it was appropriate. And I shared. I didn't share. I just shared surface level, I didn't go into details about this or that, or this program or that program, or I've done this and that. Just a little bit of information of why I showed up today. It's opening a door for me. And it's opening up new relationships. A lot of people have told me that in-person relationships are important, and Zoom was safe for me because I'm in my house, I don't have to see you, I'm an introvert, I'm labeled as an introvert, but I'm really not an introvert, actually. I can be friendly, I can be respectful, but like if I feel connected to someone, I'm not an introvert. I think that was just my social anxiety lying to me, honestly. I even found a friend shared about how they were in ACA, and I had the courage to like ask. I was like, hey, can I speak to you for a second, like after the meeting? They're like, yeah. I was like, I heard that you mentioned you were in ACA. I was like, which ACA meeting do you attend to? Because I thought it might have been the in-person one that I haven't been to in a while. And they're like, oh, blah, blah, this one, blah, blah. I was like, I've never heard of that one. And I got the information to that. I didn't even know. I thought there was only one ACA in-person meeting in my hometown. He created it. They created it. Whoever created it, that meeting. So I'm going to check it out. I am. Maybe not this week, because I have to chair my women's in-person home group meeting, and it's like at 6 o'clock. It ends at 7, the ACA meeting, and my women's meeting starts at 7. So I'll be able to go the Wednesday after that. So my point is that, you know, I can read all these books and I can do all this step work and I can identify all the pain within myself, but it's important to do that. It's important to do all that inner work, because for me, I've taken that inner work and I've brought it into meditation, and I've allowed myself to process it. When I mean process it, I mean to feel that pain, that heat, that the knife stabbing in my heart, the resentment, the regret, the shame, and to feel it, but allow it to be felt, to give my pain permission to be felt, to be heard, to be seen, to be understood. And that's what my meditation practice has done for me, to coexist with my emotions. Just like tonight when I was meditating at the temple, you know, I always tell my body I'm grateful to still, like, for the working parts. Like, I'm grateful that my heart's still beating. You know, connecting to my body is very important for me, and that's something I've just been getting into the past few months. That's what I've realized. Like, I've worked on my mental and emotional stuff, right? And my, like, I haven't used in a very long, like, many years. But now it's time to work on the physical well-being. And I have to admit, I need to stop procrastinating and work a little bit harder. Not intensively, but I need to take it a little bit more seriously. So a lot of things in that 25 minutes of meditation tonight opens me up to a new door in my recovery. And I say door because there was 3 doors I could enter through at that temple. And I chose to enter to the door that was farthest to the left, door number 1. And I use that analogy because I'm not saying next time I go to the temple I'll walk through door number 2. I'm saying, like, in my mind, it's like, okay, I'm walking through door number 1, and this is the beginning of something I never thought would happen. But if I don't force myself to take action when I'm uncomfortable, growth can never happen. And, like, I'm gonna circle back. The way my recovery works might not be how someone else's is gonna work. Everybody has a different way of working their recovery. And I've learned that for me. There's so many different programs. There's so many different scientific ways to stay sober. There's secular meetings. There's all types of meetings. And I have them listed all on my main page. All the resources I know about. I can't think my way into change. I can act my way into change through action and repetition. But the most important thing is I have to tell myself, especially in the beginning, is that I can do this and I will do this and I want this. I want to be better. I want to heal. I want to learn. I want to be open-minded. I can and I will. Self-talk. I had to stop searching for external sources or external motivation, and I had to find it within myself. I had to learn to believe in me and not care what people thought about me. So my video from a year ago, or I don't know, maybe 8 to 6 months ago on step 11 probably sounds different from this video, because that's why I do this channel. So whoever's willing, they can go back to my first video and then they'll go to the recent one and be like, wow, look at this program and look at how much progress a person can take when they are willing to put in the action, and when they are done being done with suffering. And that was my intention of starting this YouTube channel. It took me a lot of courage and a lot of repetition of staring at myself in this camera and just practicing for I don't know how long. But within my heart, I was guided to do this. And I provide free resources. And I'm still trying to organize my channel to upload documents and stuff like that. Like, I don't really know how YouTube works. I just post videos. And so I hope that whoever's watching this, something you've heard can help you on your own path. Thank you for listening.